to the third and final part of my Grayscale mini-series. I am Yonako. I am an artist who renders her art entirely in grayscale and then adds color afterwards. I made 2 videos prior to this that you need to watch as they both give important information related to art in grayscale. Quick disclaimer, I am not an art professor and I don't have an art degree. This is simply how I interpret my art process. Last video, we talked about what problem I see a lot of people who struggle with grayscale have. In this video, I will show how to remedy it. Here we have 2 examples of colored art with the original grayscale at the bottom. I did my usual coloring process on the right, and on the left, I did what grayscale beginners might do. Now, the left example doesn't look too bad, and that's because of the values. As I've said before, if your values are good, then even a boring color palette will end up looking nice. However, I'm assuming that my followers want something more like the right example. So what did I do differently? Well, even without me saying it, the difference is obvious, right? Let's take the hair for example and color pick it. So this is what the highlight looks like. Here are the bangs that frame the face. Yeah, let me make them bigger, sorry. And here are the colors at the back. As you can see, they are very varied. You've got some shades that are more blue, more red, and some that are more orange-yellow, compared to the one on the left. Here is what the highlight looks like. The hair that frames the face, and the ones at the back. And you can see that is very monotone. This palette is monochromatic, and even slightly shifting the hues a bit can help break it up and make it more vibrant. This is what online artists mean when they say you should, mess around with your colorware a little bit. This is what they're trying to prevent. When I'm coloring, I either lay down the flat colors, like using a layer, blending mode, and then I merge down those layers and add the color shifts on a different layer. Other times, I do the color shifts on the same layer. So let's experiment a little bit with the grayscale at the bottom. So I prefer to use color because it keeps the values of the grayscale really good. I should say the best. So let's see here. Gonna take a skin tone. Let's change it a little bit. And the hair. It could be, since this character's hair is black, it can shift to either bluish or brownish depending on the light source. I am going to do a brownish color, something similar to the right example. All right then. And using, I am on the same layer. I am going to choose my skin color again and shift it towards red. Now, you may not see a drastic difference, and that's because I've only changed like one color. So let's do the same to, the deeper shades like that. And then let's do the blush. I recommend adding the blush later into the coloring process or like as a final addition, because when you're doing it on like the same layer as your shadows, it can look a little bit weird, at least in my opinion. Gonna do the same for the ears too. Well, I've run into a problem because I think, as you can see, one of the shadows is a little bit more pinkish than reddish. So I am going to color over that using, a different hue. And the skin already looks a little bit better. As for the hair, a trick that I've seen is that if you have a gray surrounded by a warm color, then it'll appear more bluish or cold. And if you have a gray color surrounded by cool colors, it will appear more reddish or warm. So let's try that out. So, let's take a gray. And as you can see, however, I don't want it to be too blue, so I'm going to add more saturation to the gray, especially at the back. Gonna add the saturation back to make it look better. I just mess around. If I were to do this properly, it would take much longer than what a TikTok video would allow me to do. So I am thinking of maybe doing a live stream and going more into depth. But yeah, I don't have the time to do this properly, and then for the eyes, if you look at this version, right, even the eyes are of different colors. There's blue and there's yellow sand at the bottom. But yeah, I want to do something more in depth than what I've already did here. But you can see that the skin looks better compared to the left version. So yeah, if you want me to do a live stream or something, tell me. But yeah, this concludes my mini series. Thank you for watching.